Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to a new week. As we head into week 5, we are halfway through the term, and I've been excited to see all the work coming in. It's been top shelf, and I think it'll continue as we get into the PK. The PK is one of your toughest individual assignments to date. Let's look at this last week we're closing out. You have the edge of entrepreneurism. I've had a few questions. Please do not choose a large business like JCPenney or Nordstrom's or Winco. It needs to be a smaller emerging business. It could be all online. It could be local, but make sure it's not something that is Nike. And here's some examples to give you inspiration. Now, for week 5, we are getting into operations management, and this is the day-to-day stuff. The cool thing about this class is you get to really focus in as you go through the weeks on maybe a career path you're interested in. So weeks before, I've talked about entrepreneurism. We've also covered ethical global markets. Maybe you're wanting to be marketing globally. I have friends that do that. Maybe you want to go to economics. As we get down into future weeks, you have HRM, human resource management. Down here, you get into pricing models, so you can be a pricing agent. Distribution and logistics is a very big one right now. So again, that's what the intent of 101 is to do, is to be a survey class so you can learn about different career paths and where you might land. So getting back up here to this week that we're opening up is operations management. This is how I started out. I was hired to do day-to-day restaurant management. So I'd come in and making sure their staffing levels met, making sure that we have enough product on hand and inventory, making sure that we were ready for surges in customer flow, and then also balancing books within the month and making sure if we're making profit, where we can maybe do capital expenditures is a big term in operations management, where capital expenses are. Maybe we need a new grill. Maybe we need 3 new fryers. Maybe we need a roof on our facility. So those are the big, it's called repair and maintenance also, the line item. And so what you do as a operations manager, I'm just going to use my scope of understanding because this is what I did for a long time, is you're looking at, okay, there's your revenue line, and then from the revenue, you have all these cost of goods. And the cost of goods are to produce the product or service you're selling. And that's what an operating manager does, is understanding that balance. And then what they look at after cost of goods is gross profit. And then you're looking at all your fixed and variable expenses. So you got marketing you're spending money on. Do I need more supplies this month? Big one is labor. So I, as a manager, is trying to balance how many people I have on the floor, how many people I need to be staffed, not just staff for the day, but on my team, how many managers I need. So operations management is many hats that you're juggling as you are managing your facility. And then in tow to that, which is really cool for this 2 weeks, is employee motivation. And that's pretty dynamic, especially if you think of generational motivation. You have 4 generations in the workplace right now. 5, but the 5th one is really tapering off quickly. But how do you keep them all motivated? Because they're motivated by different things. And there's other aspects of motivation. And some of us are introverts, some of us are extrovert. We all have different ways we absorb information. What is your organic motivation versus your fixed motivation? What kind of motivation do you have that goes beyond just your payroll and your benefits? And so it's an art and a science. And what I always tell people when I'm doing coaching with businesses now, have you asked your employees? Too often what businesses do is they create motivation plans that the manager will be motivated by, and the manager thinks, well, because they don't think outside of their zone of understanding, they say, okay, this must be cool because I like it. Not everybody likes what the manager does. So all of a sudden you come out with these motivational plans that don't land the mark with your employees. And I will tell you, this is a question, again, I just said, I'll ask you as an audience out there, when was the last time your manager sat you down and asked you what you're motivated by? And I can pretty much say universally that most of you have never had that question. And I don't think it's because management doesn't want to satisfy your needs. They just don't think about asking the question. Now, there are some managers that don't care, but by and large, it's not a question we ask. And suddenly, if you start asking your employees within reason what they can be motivated by, and you can put together a collective plan that can touch all of your employees, those are difference makers. And that's the thing I do when I work with large organizations. Okay, so now also the assignment for the week is PK, Picha Kucha. And if you go into the framework of the assignment, here it is. I suggest going to the official site. Here is the site. It'll give you good examples. And what you'll first do, it'll ask sign up with Google or whatever. If you want to do Apple or Twitter or LinkedIn, or just create your own login. It will not do any spamming on you whatsoever. I've done this assignment for about 10 years. It's one of my most favorite assignments. So hold on a second. I'm trying to get in right now. Or maybe it won't let me in. Oh, there it is. Now I've got all the phone stuff and double authentication. Yes, that's me. Okay, we're almost there, folks. Hang on. I should have done this first. I think I did this last week when I showed you this. Okay, here is the site. And you can really drill down what is a Picha Kucha, how to make a presentation. Now, if you want to, you can create it right here. Now, the only downside of creating it on this site is the entry free level. You can't really use a lot of pictures that, have high resolution. It's hard to use video. What other students have done they went and did it on PowerPoint, or they did it on YouTube. You can do it on Vimeo. You can do it on Canva, Screencast. There's a lot of places, but this is a great way just to understand what a Picha Kucha is. And so let's actually go right here. What is a Picha Kucha? Share your passion, tell your story, find your people. And again, the number one phobia in our nation, U.S., is public speaking. And as a leader, manager, business owner, you're going to be put in that position often. So I don't think it's something that has to be a forever phobia, because I've seen people change. It's a muscle you have to exercise to be able to have that cadence and the easy flow and the time and tempo of conversation. And so this will be your first step into exercising that muscle. You will not be on the camera whatsoever. There's never a camera-facing element like what I'm doing here. You're going to be doing a voiceover to pictures or video or B-roll telling me a story. And a good Picha Kucha, please do not do, this is my family vacation to Hawaii. I just received one like that. That's not what this is, the intent. I want you to tell me something that has a moral behind the story, something that has an impact. I'm going to give you some examples. You don't have to do anything that the examples present, but you can see where the moment in the story you're telling me takes a left or right turn. In other schools I teach PK, it was due last week, and I've been watching dozens and dozens of them for this week. And some have been extraordinary, telling me stories about their person. Now, mind you, there will never be a time I share your video with anyone or post it to our classroom. This is very personal. I just want you to get comfortable finding that emotional, intelligent voice as an employee, as a leader. So that's your mission. So if you go over here to create, now this is very important for this assignment. You're doing a 10 by 20, not a 20 by 20. A 20 by 20 is 6 minutes and 40 seconds. It's too long. You want to get in the habit of getting to the point. So this is 10 images changing every 20 seconds. And I'm not much of a stickler for how often it changes. You have to have 10 images, but maybe you have one that changes in 15 seconds and another changes in 25 seconds. I'm more concerned about the quality of pictures you've chosen and also the story you're telling me. So 10 by 20, between 3 minutes and 3 minutes and 20 seconds, your story should have concluded. Okay? So if I go to 1020, then create a presentation. There we go. Upload images and you're on your way. I'm not going to go through those steps because I'm not creating one today, but that's how easy it is on this site. Now, if you use this site, you send me a link. If not, you can set it up. But I've had a lot of students recently do it on MP4. That's fine too. So if you look at other things that I'm hoping for from the assignment, is again, it's 10 by 20. It's not 20 by 20. 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Pick something you can truly get behind. And there's some really good examples that can give you inspiration. Also, if you go to the PK site, if you go back just to PK, there are dozens and dozens and dozens, actually hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of different PKs for inspiration. Picture choice is critical. You want to have something that has good quality, something that's not fuzzy or pixelated. You'll need to provide a voiceover, and the examples are provided what that means. B-roll is fine. That's the stock feed of video. Do not use any text. I do not want to see any text in your PK. That's the intent of a PK. There's no written word. Again, students are creating a PK in Prezi, Screencast, Canva, all the above. And then you load it up to Vimeo, YouTube, MP4, best options. Okay. So if I jump back out, and again, the downside of this week, I can't really go through the examples with you because there's something you have to watch. But I've provided a few for you so you can see what prior students have done. I did get clearance to show these to you by the students. One student was Josh, really well done. He talks about picking blackberries and how he loved picking blackberries with his grandfather. But by the end of the talk, you realize that maybe it's not just picking blackberries. And it's very well done. This one by Elena was being a first generation college student, and how hard it was for her to get access into education, the rejection she faced, and finally being accepted. And the last one is fast fashion. This is really well done. This is probably one of my favorites of all time. So those are 3 that you can look at and can help you with your work. Okay, so that closes it off this week. Next week, week 6, so now we start ramping up again with the teamwork. And I think the rest of the way is team stuff. That's how I had envisioned it in design. But sometimes when I'm creating these shells, this is all custom. These are all content that I've developed. So here's the business disruption. And this is a fun exercise as a team. You're going to find a disruptive product or service that's out in the market right now that is changing the way we do business or how we consume a product or a product we're purchasing. I mean, with the advent of so much happening with AI and with how so many industries have been turned upside down and are operating in ways we have never imagined. There are examples I have for you here. And again, I'll go over this again next week in next week's video. Here are 3. Canva. When Canva first came out, and this is the platform that we use, many people use to do all their graphic work, their PowerPoint and so forth. I remember when it was first presented, it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and I had a guest speaker in one of my classes, Nike. And she said that the executives at Nike were saying that that was going to be their primary platform. And it's grown so much in the last 5 years. Pave, really cool presentation you check out. The reason I'm just dabbling in this right now with you is as teams, you need to strategize and not wait till in the week. And then Waymo. Look at these 3. These are some you may have heard of, and that's what the disruption is all about. Okay, folks, that's everything for this week. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, reach out to me anytime. I think we're starting to settle into teams and everybody's here and everybody understands what needs to be done. But if there's any problems, please reach out to me.